Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries Unlimited. We have a very special guest tonight. We have Jason Morse that's going to be on with us. Before we get him on the show, let's bring in my co-host Leo, and let's see how he's doing tonight. Hey, there he is. How you doing, Leo? And the bandana. You got that bandana back on, baby. Woo!
Yep.
I got to pick on you on that.
I got to keep the rain off my bald spot.
You've got a bald spot?
Yep. You know you're not going to see it.
Well, how do you see it?
How do I see it? I don't. Yep. I pretend it's not there until I hear water land on it and go splat.
Is everything else going okay with you?
I'm getting by.
Getting by? Well, that's all we can do nowadays.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm just checking a few things. We had a little bit of a glitch when we first started to go live. Leo was actually, it showed that he was still in the studio on his end, but on my end, I couldn't see him. And it just kind of wigged out there for a minute, and all the information that I'd put in for tonight's show was gone, which made it kind of weird. I guess we need to get some birthday wishes out of the way. Is that okay?
I think so.
Well,
I think we should do that.
Two amazing people had birthdays this week, and one of them is named Leo, and it's not this Leo, it's Leo Sr. and his wife, Jean. They both had birthdays this week, so we want to wish them a very happy birthday. And they're good supporters of our show and the things that we do, and hopefully they're tuned in tonight. And everybody wish them a happy birthday.
Oh, I'm sure they're tuned in.
Yeah, they're pretty faithful to show up and support us in what we do, and that's what we like. We like to have a lot of support. I have a fragile ego, believe it or not. I wear my feelings on my sleeve. So most people who know me know that. Well, tonight's guest, do what? You agree with that? I do.
Just a little bit.
A friend of mine, I'm a pretty big guy. I'm 6'4", roughly 300 pounds, which I've lost some weight. I'm down to about 270 now. A friend of mine once said that I was a big guy, but my feelings get hurt just like everybody else's, and it's true. They do.
Yep.
Well, before we bring Jason on, let me tell you a little bit about Jason. I'll have to read it because my memory is slipping. I'm less than 3 years away from being a senior citizen. Okay. Jason is a lifelong outdoor enthusiast. He's trained in wilderness survival tactics. He's been studying martial arts for close to 30 years. He is a published author, and he's also a Bigfoot investigator, and he is currently featured in our latest documentary, Bigfoot Witness, the Jason Morse Story, which basically tells about his journey investigating Bigfoot. That you can actually watch that film on Amazon, and you can also watch it on Tubi TV for free. So let's bring Jason on. Let's see how he's looking tonight. Hope he's got his hat on. Oh, he does. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
How's it going?
How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing all right. Although I can't see you guys.
You can't see us?
No.
Well, we can see you. Don't be picking your nose.
I've been looking at going live in 0 minutes for like 5 minutes now.
No. Well, are you on the YouTube page?
I clicked the link you sent.
Okay. Well, you should be in here. I'm telling you, it glitched out. We can see you fine. So instead of having you leave and come back, we'll just let you stay right there.
That's fine.
If that's okay.
Sure, no problem. You can look at my handsome face.
That's like I say, just don't be picking your nose or anything.
No. I'll try to be good.
So that means you can't either, Tom.
No. That's my favorite pastime, picking my nose. Come on. I do suffer from allergies very badly, so you got to get it out of there. It's like glue up in there sometimes. So.
He's going to go into detail, Jay.
I could tell him a story, but it's sort of a little too long to tell in this situation.
Well, Jason, thanks for coming on the show. And I know the last few years you've kind of I ain't been able to talk to you as much as I used to. But for people who's maybe tuning in or don't know nothing much about you, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you interested in Bigfoot.
Well, honestly, the Patterson Gimlin footage was the one thing that got me interested, and I was pretty young at the time. I think I was 8 when I first saw it, and that got me interested. But March 8th of 2012 really got me interested.
Well, tell us briefly what happened on that date.
Walking my dog, saw one point the dog froze and looked off into the woods. And I looked at where he was looking, and we saw some dark creature like hunkered down behind a berm or something. And we turned around to leave because I thought it was a bear first. And he stood up and walked away on 2 legs.
And this is what we've kind of based our film around, the Bigfoot Witness, Jason Morse Story. But it goes into a whole lot of other things as well, as far as even you coming down in here to Kentucky and spending a little bit of time. But tell us some of the evidence that you found after that sighting.
Since that sighting, I've seen numerous footprints. I thought at one time I saw a print that looked like. Theory has it that Sasquatch will run on all fours when it's going fast. And I saw what looked like a knuckle print, like 2 knuckles in the ground. It was way bigger than mine, but it wasn't a deer because there weren't pointy at the end, they were rounded at the end.
I actually have a picture of a track. You may not be able to see it because you said you were looking at a black screen.
Yeah.
This is a big track that is where you have a tape measure next to it, and it looks to be roughly 22 or 23 inches long, and there's water in it. Do you remember that?
Yep, that was about 50 feet behind my house, and it was 22.5 inches from my point of view. I'm sure that my point of view was better than the photo. But yeah, that was when I realized what was really coming around here. I mean, aside from actually seeing it, that gave me the scope of how big it was, I should have said.
And for those who may not know, after Jason had his sighting fairly close to your house, correct?
My first sighting, yes, was about a quarter of a mile away.
And you, even though we cover some of it in the film, we don't go in great detail about some of the things that happened around your home. Tell us some of the things that happened, because we're under the impression that this Bigfoot actually came to your house, correct?
Yeah, he did, on 2 occasions. They were roughly month and a half apart. The second time I saw what I believe is the same creature. Well, my dog, every time he sensed or heard or smelled anything, he'd always let us know. It was Midas at the time. He'd always let us know if someone was driving. So one night,
Uh-oh. I believe we might have lost him. What do you think, Leo?
Yeah, I think so, man.
Okay. What I may have to do is kick him and bring him back in, you think? Jason, I'm going to kick you and let you surf back in, okay? There we go.
Huh?
Okay, I had to kick Jason because he couldn't see us anyway. So let's have him surf back in and let's see how that goes. Let me send him a message. Let's see how that goes. Technical difficulties. That's the beauty of live broadcast.
We need the 7-second delay system.
Well, it probably is on the actual live thing, Bob, but we'll see if we can't get him back in here. Hey, here we go. Maybe he can see us now. Let's try it again. Hey.
Hey, boys.
Now, can you see us now?
Yeah, I can.
There
Okay.
we go.
All right. Now, we was in the process of talking about the Bigfoot coming to your house, which you seen that was about a quarter mile away. Tell us, you saying something about your dog alerted when he would come around or something?
Always seemed like that night the dog just went to the door and started like whimpering and barking a little bit, and I grabbed a flashlight, stepped out, and shone a flashlight over towards my dumpster, and there he was standing there. And as soon as I got the light on him, he turned around and walked away real quick. So
How tall you think this Bigfoot is?
I would have to say, it's in the film, but the first time I saw him, he turned around. When he went to turn around and walk away, he bumped his head on a branch of a tree. And when I went back, I took the dog home, grabbed a sidearm, went back, and a tape measure, and measured that limb, and the limb was 9'4". So I stood right beneath it. So
that put him roughly 10 foot.
that's why I'd guess around 9'6". I mean, he just barely brushed it.
Well, now the big one I seen here locally, it was the biggest one I've seen. He was right at 10 foot, and I didn't realize how big he was until I seen a man that I know standing close to where I saw it, and it was so much larger. It was probably 10 foot.
Well, I basically went by that branch. I mean, he walked by it and I don't know if he might have ducked some or what, but I mean, it just barely touched the top of his head. And when I measured it, the branch was 9'4", so I assumed he was around 9'6".
When you first saw this thing, when you was with your dog, what kind of emotions did you have? I mean, I know you had an interest in Bigfoot, but when it becomes real for you, it's a different story.
Yeah. As far as emotions, pretty much all of them. Every single one, like, hit me all at the same time. It was, I was excited, I was scared, I was anxious, I was nervous, I was scared. It was, like I said, every single one of them.
And I know you wasn't expecting to see Bigfoot. That's what makes that's what makes you get the emotional part come out. For me, the day I saw the big one here at home, I wasn't looking for Bigfoot. I wasn't out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. I just happened to see one.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't on the agenda for my day, but looking back, I'm glad it happened.
It makes it very real for you, for sure.
Yeah. Opened my eyes a lot.
Any other strange stuff happen around the house? When maybe that you wasn't aware that it was there, but you found evidence the next day?
Yeah, at one time, very close to my home, there was a ball, one of Midas's balls, that I knew that was in a certain area because I threw it, and then I called to him, and he came in, and I knew where it was. And the next day, there was a perfect square made out of sticks, and that ball was sitting in the middle.
Yeah, I remember that. I got a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah, that was interesting
and unexpected.
definitely unexpected.
uh, I got a picture here too. I want to share, and because this is not in the film, this is some extra research that you had did uh, at a different time, I would assume, and it's got 3 or 4 interesting pictures in it that I want you to tell us a little bit about. Let me. I'll zoom in on the top one, which we can understand probably what that is. This looks like a classic tree break.
That break was about 8 foot up.
Was this in the same general area of where you saw this Bigfoot, or is this a different location altogether?
This was about 5 miles away.
5 miles away?
Yeah.
Okay. And this year, I think this is pretty interesting too, because I found something similar to this before, and I'm sure Leo probably has too, this dome-like thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was out in the woods about 1.5 miles behind my house when I lived on Ash Swamp.
And that's where you had your sighting at.
Yeah.
Ash Swamp Road.
I saw that and I was like, "There's no way that happened naturally." So I had to grab a picture. It's like a perfect dome out of. I mean, most of those trees there are alive.
Are alive?
Yeah, you could see in the bottom, like near the bottom right corner, the butt of right there. The butt of that tree is still in the ground. Yeah, that thing's alive, but still it's bent over and tied into all those dead ones.
I found many of them like that.
I thought that was super interesting. That's the first one I've ever seen.
Leo, you found similar, right?
Yeah, that dome shape. There's been several of those, but my favorite one was that one that looked like if somebody took maybe 5 minutes and put a little hook and some bait on it, it would have made a perfect trap.
It's pretty interesting. This here to me is just kind of weird, because it almost looks like a tombstone. What can you tell us about that?
That was just randomly placed this was probably about 20 miles from where I live.
Any idea what it is?
No. I mean, there'd be some kind of marker because no person put it there. I mean, by the looks of it, it was obviously old. And from where it sits in the ground to the top of that boulder was almost 4 feet. And it was probably, I don't know, 2.5 feet wide. So no person or group of people could have put it there.
That's large. It looks like a tombstone you would see in an old graveyard. We have quite a few old tombstones around here in certain graveyards. It looks very similar to that.
Yeah, I actually thought that, and I looked all over the place, and I didn't see anything else even resembling it. I mean,
No houses or anything nearby?
I'm sorry?
Any houses or anything nearby?
From this area, the nearest house was probably 10 miles away.
So it wouldn't have been nothing that a person living there would have done.
Like I said, as large as that slab is, I don't know how a person could have done it. It would have taken a group of people.
Leo, you have any comments about that? You see anything similar to that?
Several different rock things. That thing that looks like that rectangle thing that looks like it'd be great for a campfire, but I mean, I dug down as far as I wanted to go, and nothing had ever been burned in it. And I've had like the rock stacks, but I've never come across this at all.
Now that's really, really unusual looking, especially to be out in the forest in the middle of nowhere. And we all pretty much assume and understand that we think Bigfoot buried, they're dead. But what's the chances of them marking it in this kind of way? It would be really unusual.
Not a chance.
That's pretty obvious, you know.
That's way, way, way too obvious. They're not going to mark it just
I
like
wonder
that.
if it could be used for something else, though.
I agree that they would not mark it.
I wonder if they could use it for something else, though. I mean, maybe hang a deer hide over or something like that.
I don't know. Hypothetically, it could be the marker showing that this is where the king lives.
Yeah, true. Could be a
My
territorial type
territory.
thing.
You know, let's just say, for example, Goliath was like the big kahuna of everyone around. That could have been his marker saying, you know, this is my turf, so just be careful. Or something.
It's hard to say. That's just unusual. I've not found anything like that in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I mean,
I
there
would
was no.
figure if it's something like that, then that's it would mean in that it's debatable with people whether they have religious beliefs or anything like that, but something like that would seem to be some type of important marker if it was made by them. To me, to be that bold and that obvious of a marker, it would have to be it would mean something important.
Be something very significant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Jason, let's go back to the day you had your sighting uh, of what you came to call Goliath, the big guy that bumped his head. Uh, you actually had him around your house a time or two and saw glimpses of him. Did you ever get a decent look at his face?
Actually, I did. And strangely enough, the best way I can explain it is I believe it was frame 257 of the Patty footage. Because it wasn't as dark as she was. It was like a, you know, a reddish brown, but the face, the color, the shape and proportions of the face were identical.
And it was a male, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, the third time I saw him near my home, I definitely realized he was a male.
Excuse me. In the film, we also, right after you'd had your sighting, or not long after you had your sighting, you had to move. Uh,
Yeah.
for people who may not know, tell them about how far you had to move and why you had to move.
Uh, my wife and I and Midas were living in a little 2-bedroom home. It was a house we were renting. That was the one on Ash Swamp Road where I had most of my sightings. And landlord decided he was going to sell the house. So we had to move, and it was, I don't know, maybe a mile away that we moved to. But it just seemed like I'd gone out there again several times, and it just seemed like nothing. I didn't see any evidence. I didn't see him. Nothing. So I don't know. I just assumed he must have moved on.
I would. I know for me, I can speak on my personal level. Here where I live, I know where several groups of Bigfoot are, and if I was forced to move, it would probably be troublesome for me because I wouldn't want to, because I have such a good area to research in. I wouldn't really want to move. So I'm sure you kind of felt the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm realistic. I'm not going to say that we were buddies, but it seemed like he was coming by more and more frequently. So, you know, I'm not looking for fortune and fame, but I'm thinking to myself, I could get the most epic video or picture if I could just do that.
And then once you moved, it kind of the once you moved, the activity kind of stopped. I guess it didn't follow you to your new home.
Yeah, I went back out there several times, and Never saw a thing.
Well, people do say that they can follow you home, and I guess it depends on where you live at. I live back in the middle of nowhere, so it'd be easy for one to follow me home.
I live now. I'm still in that same place that we had to move to, and we've been here about 9 years now, and it's a condo complex. So there's, you know, thousands of people, cars going by, the train tracks right behind us. So, I mean, it's just the worst spot for Bigfoot research.
Well, so what's the name of the park you go to and research in sometimes? Pawtuckaway?
Yep,
Yeah.
Pawtuckaway Park in Raymond, New Hampshire.
And
I've been there.
tell us a little bit about that, about going in there and what you found.
We found a lot of, I mean, it was hard because when the time that I got the most evidence, I guess we can call it that, it snowed the night before and there was like 8 inches of snow on the ground. But there were a lot of interesting like tree bends, and I heard some noises. I'm not going to say it was a Bigfoot. I'm not like you know who, and everything's a Bigfoot, but uh, I just it was a good time. We had a lot of fun.
Uh, Tell us a little bit about the park. How do you have any idea how big it is? How wooded it is?
It's besides a giant lake, it's 100% wooded. As far as square acreage or miles, I couldn't say. It's huge. I mean, it's a state park, much like, I don't know, they're common up here.
Yeah, we got a few around here too. And having a lake close to it, I'm sure, is a good, of course, good water source, good food sources.
Yeah, I think they said it was like it was a 3 mile by 6 mile lake. I think that's what it was.
That's large. Yeah.
Yeah, but beautiful place, and it's got activity.
Well, a lot of times people don't maybe think, what I've even heard one person say that there was no Bigfoot anywhere besides like California, Washington, and Maine, and Canada, which we know they're all over the place basically. Some people may not think that in New Hampshire you would have Bigfoot, but yes, they're there too.
Yep.
Let me see.
I don't know why anybody would think that. That's if you're going to say that there's no Bigfoot in a state. New Hampshire is not the state I'd pick.
No.
But of course, they said that about Kentucky too. So
Yeah.
but no, New Hampshire, Maine, New Hampshire, where I researched in New Brunswick. I'm just across the border from both states on the Canadian side. So yeah, that's if somebody said that, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I think New Hampshire is 65 to 70% wilderness.
Oh, big woods.
Yeah.
Really big woods.
Yeah, a very prominent person recently said that there was no evidence that Bigfoot was any place other than just out west in Washington, California, and I think he said Maine. So there was no credible evidence anywhere else of Bigfoot.
Yeah, well,
That's don't. I don't think so. Maybe I've got a sound.
Well, that's why we have stuff and they talk about stuff. So that's
when they say stuff like that, you just
I just got a message from my friend. He said it was 8.56 square miles, 5,000 acres. That's Pawtuckaway.
That's good. That's a big, huge area.
Thanks, Chuck.
And I've noticed too. Now I don't know how it is for you guys, but our state parks around here seem like they don't get a lot of usage. I mean, some people use them and use the hike trails and things like that. But overall, I mean, many times I went in there. Me and my wife go hiking on the Pine Mountain State Park. Occasionally we run into somebody, but sometimes we hike several trails in one day. We don't even run into anyone.
Well, up around here on a good day, you usually can't walk I don't know, few hundred, few hundred, 500 feet maybe, without seeing somebody. I mean, they're very active up around here.
No, ours don't get that kind of use. I mean, certain times of year, of course, you get heavier use, but some of the trails were on Pine Mountain. Some of them's pretty difficult, so that could be why as well. Pretty steep and rocky and that type of stuff.
Yeah, the Tuckerway is. I mean, if you did it all day, you'd be tuckered out, I guess. But I mean, it's not even close to when I went to Kentucky.
Yeah,
It's very. Most of it's just hiking trails, and they're mostly flat. I mean, obviously there's going to be little hills and bumps, but it's pretty normal.
well, Bigfoot doesn't have to have a big steep mountain to live in or live on, but it's mostly food, water, and shelter, basically, in some space. That's when I do my presentations. That was one of my questions. What does Bigfoot need to survive? And usually people can get food, water, and shelter, but they can't get that fourth one, which is they got to have enough space to obtain the other three, and it don't take as much as you think sometimes.
Now, I liken a clan of Bigfoot to a pride of lions. They got their space. The next group over there has their own space, and they just, I don't know, maybe they get together from time to time, but my theory.
Well, I got a friend that comes from Arkansas, and he says that that's kind of how he describes it. So he calls them the Smith and the Joneses and whatever. So they all know each other, and they got their own space. And which I'm sure I don't know what their last names are, if they even have them, but I'd say each little group kind of knows each other.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty sure that the groups kind of stay by themselves and don't allow the other groups to come in and say hi. I mean, maybe sometimes, but
I've got a little bit of a blast from the past here for you, buddy. Let me find the picture. Some people may not know this, but Jason actually won Researcher of the Year. I think it was in 2013, I believe.
And 2013.
And he won Cryptid Photo of the Year, I think. And our team actually won an award back then for Team of the Year. And I think that was in 2013. Tell us a little bit about attending that event and what went on, because I wasn't able to attend, and you went and accepted the awards for yourself and for the team. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a great time. It was a little extravagant, maybe a little over the top for my taste only, I guess I'll say, but it was a good time. I mean, the hostess was gracious, and it went well. It was definitely an honor to accept all those trophies for myself and the go through.
I had a few other pictures of you guys dancing. Looked like it was a pretty good crowd too.
Yeah, there's a couple hundred people there, I think.
That's good. That's good. But that's a little something that maybe people didn't know about the team or yourself. I'm actually I can't think of the lady's name that put that on right now, and I know her well.
Carol.
Yeah, she used to go by CC Huntress.
Yes.
She's like I can't think of her name right now. It's unusual.
I don't know of her last actual name, but I always called her CC.
Yeah, she's done some films that one of them is Running Away from the Unknown. She was in that. She played the mother of a boy in that film, but she's doing some other film work and a whole lot of stuff. She's really super nice. I got to know her better later, but back in then I knew her a little bit because of the paranormal awards that she was putting on.
Yeah, she was a sweetheart. It still is. Very nice lady.
See if I've got anything else here, Jason. That. Oh yeah, this is. This ought to be good. No, it won't be too embarrassing. I won't put up the one with where you're singing and all that stuff with those outfits on.
Yeah, we can skip that.
For those who don't know, Jason also does karaoke sometimes, and he actually gets into character for the songs, which is kind of cool. And the Kid Rock one is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was a show that was separate from karaoke. Carol McDonald, the lady that I know well, puts it on once a year. And of course, it didn't happen during COVID, but
Yeah.
I got an invite to do the next one. We'll see. Me and Cliff.
Yeah, you know, Cliffy.
Yep, I didn't realize he was so short.
Well, now me and you are almost the same height. Uh, I
Yeah,
outweigh you probably a little bit, but
yeah, you got me by an inch or two.
I'm probably close to 100 pounds.
Yeah, probably. Just about.
Yeah, I like to eat. Uh, Tell us a little bit about how you met Cliff and what was going on and all that at the time.
Well, me and a friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name because I haven't talked to him about this in a while and I haven't had his permission to say his name, so I won't. But we went to the Finding Bigfoot town hall meeting in up in New Hampshire. It was at the White Mountain Hotel, and I get to speak. My friend got to speak. Um, neither of us spoke on the show, but in the meeting itself, we both spoke. And after the show, we were talking to each member, and Cliff was great. I mean, he was a genuine, friendly, and nice guy.
And this was the town hall meetings they used to have on the Finding Bigfoot show, where they, anybody that's watched the show would know where people would hold their hand up if they saw Bigfoot, and they would kind of talk to them about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you also got to meet, well, you met them all, but Bobo.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Bobo was sick there for a little while and lost quite a bit of weight, but he's doing a lot better now. I'm glad to hear. From what I know, Bobo's a really nice guy. You can probably tell us a little bit more since you got to talk with him.
No, Bobo, he seemed really shy and quiet, but I mean, he was very, very friendly. I mean, we didn't really talk. I didn't talk a whole lot to Bobo. He almost like did this every time I wanted to talk to him. Like he either wasn't interested or was too shy to talk. But I can't believe he was too shy.
Well, I told people for years that I've dealt with Moneymaker a time or two, and me and him kind of have we like each other fairly well. We kind of have a love-hate relationship at times, I guess. We've had a few words over the years, but overall we patch things back up, and we still, we're still friendly, I guess, with each other. Uh, Anytime you deal with people in the Bigfoot world in general, sometimes you'll run into egos, and I try not to have one, but I'm sure sometimes I do too. But sometimes you'll run into people who's got really strong egos, and
Yeah,
if you hurt their feelings, they really get mad about it.
yeah. It's just I found it's usually best just to keep it to myself if I feel that way.
Well, I'm trying, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Now, when this was going on, it was in New Hampshire where they had the town halls. That where it was at?
It was the White Mountain Hotel.
White Mountain Hotel. Well, tell us a little bit what come of all that, because I think you and the witness that you took with you, they were interested, right?
Yeah. The guy that went with me actually witnessed a different scenario, which I can tell you afterwards if you'd like to know. We both went up there, and they were very. Actually, it was Cliff and Renee who were very interested in both scenarios, and they talked to the producer, and the producer said it was too far to drive. So
So
it's like
they liked the encounter and what happened, but they just too far out of the way for them for production purposes.
Yep. Two of the four hosts were really interested in going there and checking it out. And they just
And one
wound up
of the
not
other
taking
two
it.
was Moneymaker. Sorry, I had to say it.
Well, can't say I don't agree.
Come on now, this ain't a bash moneymaker. He's done some good work too.
He has.
I think his Ohio howls and stuff that he caught years ago are pretty impressive. And overall, I can understand. You know, he does have a real good website that's very informative and has a lot of stuff where you get on it. You know, the BFRO website is really, it's got a good website, and the organization overall is okay. It's got some good people in it. So let's not be mean to Moneymaker too bad.
No, I was more playing than anything.
Which I can understand people, him rubbing people the wrong way sometimes. But in the Bigfoot world, that's easy to do, rub somebody the wrong way. Let me see if I've got anything else, Jason. I don't know if I've got any other pictures or not. Oh, I got something we got to bring up later, but we'll get to that after a while. What is the strangest Bigfoot report? Because you've done field investigations for us for a long time, and what's the strangest thing you've run into when you've done that?
Are we talking about the strangest report or the results of the report?
Well, either way. I know of one incident that's not too good.
I got was a guy that was frantic messaging me on Facebook. It was in a winter, must have been 4 years ago. And he swore to God that he saw a Bigfoot running off into a field. And he showed me the line of what looked like valid footprints. They were good sized. And of course, like way too many times it happens, I get there and I look and they were snowshoes.
Snowshoes?
Yeah. Someone, might have been him, put on a pair of those smaller style snowshoes, not the ones that look like a teardrop, and ran up through the field. I wasted 5 hours of my day that day, driving there and back.
Oh boy. Did he report to you that he actually saw something?
No, he said he heard something the night before. Did not look, but then the next morning, the other tracks full.
So it is possible he heard something, and what he heard was a dude running through the field.
Either that, or it could, like I said, it could have been him, and he was just saying that he heard something. But yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not going to point fingers or make accusations. But that was the silliest, most ridiculous waste of my time that I can remember.
Hey, it happens. We've got.
I've had to take a second look at a snowshoe track before, because what happened was it thawed and then refroze, and then there was snow on top of it. So I'm up there looking for toe detail, and then I look back and like, oh man, it's friggin'.
Now, see, we don't get snowshoes around here. We don't get enough snow. It just, if we get snow, it's just in a few days it's gone. I don't know if anybody would wear snowshoes around this part. Maybe somebody barefooted, but not snowshoes.
Maybe I should move to Kentucky because we get it 4 or 5 months out of the year.
Oh man, it's kind of cold right now, but I've actually mowed all my grass and stuff yesterday. We've had some upper 70 degree days already, so yeah, I can't handle all that cold weather.
Well, it was nice in New Hampshire today. It's like 65.
65, I ain't bad.
Yeah, well, nice. I mean, that's a beautiful spring day.
Well, my wife is from Michigan, and of course, there's lakes everywhere in Michigan. And they talk about going swimming and stuff when they were younger. And I thought, I thought, why are you masked? I said, the water, ain't no way the water gets warm enough to go swimming. You don't have enough sunshine. It don't get warm enough. You know,
Right.
they got snow piled up on probably all the way into June.
Now, we were lucky this year. We didn't get a lot. How about you, Leo?
Oh no, man! It was the opposite this year because I told Dad, I said, no more talking about mild winters because we've been going on for the last 5 or 6 years how we'd be getting a little bit of snow, but it would be gone the next day or two. No, we got it bad this year. This year was bad. First one in probably 9 years, but this year was bad.
Wow, you're only like what, 500 miles from me, maybe?
Maybe a bit more, but that's, I mean, once you cross the New Brunswick border, swing to the right and we're headed right in your direction. So, but we get the stuff that not only comes from you guys, but comes up the seaboard too, right? So if it comes up from the ocean, that's where we get nailed.
Yeah. Well,
you guys can keep it.
I don't want to keep it, but
now when I was younger, I liked the cold weather and snow, but not anymore. Too old.
when I was a kid, it was the winter of 78, I think. We got a snowstorm. We got about 30, 35 inches. And we went to school a couple days later, and me and the other kids in school would get a running start as much as we could. Jump into the ditch, which was full of snow from the plow trucks. We go up to our armpits.
I can remember when we was younger, we had some bad snows, but we've not had like that in a long time, and that's good. That's okay. But I used to love it, man. Snow and cold weather, it didn't bother me at all. But as you get older, it kind of bothers you.
Yeah, I can do without it.
Yeah.
I'll just move to Kentucky.
Yeah, I prefer the warm weather for sure.
I like the warm weather, but I don't like the humid weather.
Well, Leo, you might be able to answer this question, and Jason, you can too. When do you think that Bigfoot are most active? What time of year?
Do you want to go first there, Jay?
Go ahead, Leo.
It's hard to say because it's not the more obvious signs that I can get to because I can only go so far in the wintertime and in the springtime too until it starts to dry up. So I don't think it's that they're necessarily any less active in the winter. I think they just stay in a smaller area, and come closer to, like in my case, come closer to where people are during the warmer months. But because I can go into Area 1 and not see anything during the winter, but it's hopping in there in the summer.
I'd have to agree with that.
Well, that's me as well. I'm kind of like Leo. I think in the wintertime they pull back and maybe don't travel. Don't just their normal travel routine is not as broad.
My only question with that is, you'd think that they would want to hang around slightly populated areas to be able to take garbage for food, or
Maybe they do in some areas. I don't know.
yeah.
I know.
See, it's hard for me to say because, like I said, it's so wet in Area 1 that I can't get any further back. So if I wanted to know this, I couldn't. So I can't say I do.
Well, I do go out some in the wintertime, but I didn't really this year. Maybe once or twice, but we have a lot of food sources around here for them. That's good all year round, I guess. As far as I guess they could pull up cattails or whatever in the wintertime just as easy as they could in the spring and eat those things, and not counting all the other stuff. But now some places maybe some places that are closer to a city, I'd say they have no qualms about going to the dumpster and picking up something or whatever.
Yeah.
And several reports of roadkill, picking up roadkill off a few of those. So
I'm not sure about up where Leo is, but around here, there's whitetails running around all winter long.
yeah, same here. Yeah.
And, I mean, there's another researcher that claims to have actually seen a Bigfoot catch and kill a white-tailed deer.
I wouldn't doubt it. I know I've took several reports in of where they have taken a hunter's kill, where the hunter would maybe shot it, and as he's trailing it up, he gets close to where the animal is, and he sees something else, pick it up and walk away with it. We got several reports of that. So I think they're opportunists. They're not dumb.
Oh, yeah, well, they're the last thing from dumb.
Yeah, they're not going to pass up a easy. Hey, am I going to spend all my energy trying to run down a deer, or am I going to pick this one up the guy just shot?
Right.
They're not stupid.
Just like they're commonly seen along power lines or, pathways or trails at a national park. I mean, they're not stupid. They'll follow the path of least resistance.
In the film, Jason, we do we got a little segment in there where you recorded some sounds. Tell us about that, and tell us how close that was to your home, because I know it's pretty close.
It was very close. I recorded it from my back deck, and I was out there with a flashlight. I couldn't see a thing, but I heard these sounds, and they were several moments apart, probably 5-10 seconds apart, I guess. It was chilling because I knew he was there, but I kept on sweeping the flashlight back and forth, and I couldn't see him. But I heard what I heard, and I recorded what I heard.
Did you hear any kind of sound? But I'm sure you did before you started recording. I mean, there was a reason why you started recording.
I heard some. It actually sounded like a branch breaking. And at the time, I was like 500% Bigfoot, period. And I was all into Goliath. And I was laying in bed, actually. It was probably, 11 o'clock at night. And me and my wife were in bed. It was warm out, so we had the window cracked open. And I heard a branch break. So I jumped right up, grabbed my flashlight, and ran outside. That's when I looked around trying to see him. I did not, but then I recorded those sounds. It was almost like a couple like grunts or something like that, and then almost like he was exasperated. He just went.
Yeah, the one's like he's breathing out or something, blowing.
Yeah, it was almost like I saw this, I think it might have been a Jane Goodall movie about gorillas. And they have a greeting that's like it's a really gruff sounding, oh. I mean, but there's like I don't know what you call it, like a gruff, gravelly sound to the voice. And that's what it sounded like.
At the time, did your wife get to hear him live, or I mean, I'm sure she heard him on the recording, but did you hear him live with you?
I believe she did. I know there was another time that, again, it was warm out, so we had the window cracked open, and we kept on listening to these. I listened to these coyotes for hours. I mean, at least like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then towards the end, I hear what sounded like King Kong was trying to imitate the coyotes. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, I had a pretty good idea at that point because I'd already seen him 3 times. So The theory is they seem to follow coyotes or coyotes follow them because they seem to always be near each other. I've heard that theory on many occasions.
Yeah, I don't. We got quite a few coyotes around here, but I'm not. I'm not made a connection between Bigfoot and coyotes that I can tell of. That I can tell other than you'll hear far off sounds or something. But I've
Yeah,
heard that before. They follow coyote trails and take their kills and that type of stuff. And who knows? And maybe they do. I know they don't like dogs. So
yeah, I've heard that too.
yeah, yeah. And dogs don't
I
like them
actually,
either.
I actually figured it'd be the other way around, that the coyotes would scavenge from Bigfoot kills.
I would say Bigfoot don't leave much. I'd say it takes it with it.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Especially in places like where you and Leo are. If they do get a kill, it's going to keep. It's the
In the
winter time. It's
wintertime,
going to keep through the winter. So,
yeah, in the wintertime, it definitely will keep.
how's your bear population there where you had your sighting?
Uh, right now, it's slightly less than moderate. I haven't seen one. Of course, I live in a fairly populated area now. Last time I saw one was 2010, 2011, when I was doing a little research thing.
So you do have a few black bears in that general area.
Yeah, and the good thing about them, the males are scared of everything. All you gotta do is yell and wave your arms, and they'll run off. And most of the time, the females will do the same thing unless they have cubs, and that's when you're in trouble.
Oh, I know. I had a face-to-face with a mama and 4 cubs back a few years back, ginsening. We was less than probably 8 or 10 foot apart.
Yeah,
And, she ran off, but she didn't go far because I heard her moving around. And one of the cubs went right up a tree right there real close.
yeah,
I was like, don't do that. Keep on going. Don't stop there.
yeah.
But yeah,
But
it's our bear population has really exploded here. I mean, I've seen 9 in like 2 days.
really,
Yeah, they come across the road here. I watched one walk down the railroad track here behind the house last year. I tried to get a picture of him, but it was too dark, and he's humongous. He's the biggest one I've ever seen, I guess.
huh,
But still nothing compared to a Bigfoot.
yeah.
And I know Leo's got plenty of black bear. And you got grizzlies where you're at, Leo?
Nope, just black
No
bear.
grizzlies, just black bear. That's good. There was some talk of releasing grizzlies back here in Kentucky. I hope they don't. I don't want to have to deal with them boogers.
Yeah, well, sometimes they get the idea of introducing something here or there, and it turns out in the end not to be such a good idea.
Well, that's us with black bear, which we have a season on them now. But for several years, they told us we didn't have any, and people were seeing them, finding their tracks. And they said, "No, you don't have any, don't have any." And now there's just so many. They finally, yeah, you got a whole bunch of them, and they started having a season. I don't remember how many they let you take. It usually varies by county. How many can be killed? You have to report it that evening, and once they get that X amount of number, they cut it off. Which I've ate bear before. Bear's actually pretty good eating, but I don't want to kill nothing.
As long as you stay away from the fat. The bear fat's awful, but bear meat itself is good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. Any questions for? Any more questions, Leo, for Jason? I know you probably got some thoughts over there.
Well, the main one that I wanted to ask him when we first started, you kind of asked anyway, but so when you first saw Goliath that very first time, when you in the movie you say it changed your life, and tonight you said how you had all the emotions all at once. I can only talk from my first sighting. Did you feel like what you knew up to that point was like within that time frame and the few days after that, did you feel that what you knew up to that point had all been a lie?
Uh,
But of
Good
course you had a
question.
prior interest, though I didn't, so that, yeah, it may be different for you.
Yeah, and I think that probably is what it was, because I did have the interest. I wasn't the naysayer. I was like, it'd be really cool. I saw the Patty footage. I watched all the $6 Million Man shows that Andre the Giant played Bigfoot.
Mhm.
Anything that remotely concerned Bigfoot, I would watch. And it wasn't until my sighting that I actively went out. I mean, I went hiking quite a bit, but it was just a hike. But in the back of my mind, I was always kind of looking around. But now I look for that.
So I know for me that day that and the days after, it's like where was this in the science books in school? Where was why is there only this? Nothing made sense because that when that event happened and you is something that isn't supposed to be, is supposed to be a joke, but then it's right there in front of you. Because I mean, for me, I didn't give Bigfoot hardly any thought up until the day that I didn't have any other choice. But I was like, what else do we not know? Like, what else is being hidden? Because I can't. I'm not the only guy in the world that just saw this. I mean, it really messed me up. Like, I didn't. I went into some kind of funky phase there for a few weeks afterward. It really messed me up.
Well, I guess it's kind of how one person is different from the other. It kind of kicked me into overdrive. I was
Oh,
like,
that
at that
happened, but it
point,
happened months after.
it happened when it took the rest of the day and that night to process what I saw, to make sure in my mind that was exactly what I saw. The next morning, I woke up to go to work, and I couldn't wait to get home to go out in the woods and look around for it.
Yeah,
And
I know that feeling. Well, we was talking about this, I think, on the last show. Once you actually get into Bigfoot, have a sighting, and you come to the realization that yes, it really is real. There's, I don't know if I've had a day that's went by that I've not thought about Bigfoot. I mean, it just kind of dominates your life. You think about it every day.
yeah,
That's, I guess sometimes when we're online and we're in these groups and they're posting up fake stuff and that we know is obvious fakes or it's been debunked years ago. I think what people fail to realize that people who are serious about it, like us, we think about it and deal with it every day. I deal with it every day in some aspect. I deal with Bigfoot or the cryptids every day in some way. Yeah, I'm not saying I know everything, but I've seen stuff for years and it keeps repeating. It keeps showing up every few months, and it's something that's been debunked. And people shouldn't get mad when you try to set the record straight, but they do.
yeah, I generally get a lot of flack from the. I mean, I grew up in a really small town, and a lot of them are hunters. And probably 80% of my male friends were hunters, and 35 to 40, maybe 45% of female friends that I had were also hunters. And most of them would go, I've been going out there for X amount of years and I've never seen anything like that. That's crazy. And I was like, yeah, but what were you looking for?
That's the thing.
He goes, what do you mean? And I was like, you're out there in the woods that day that you say that you didn't see anything resembling Bigfoot. What were you looking for? Well, whitetail. Like, that's why you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, most hunters don't know what to look for because they're interested in whatever they're hunting. Turkey hunter, whatever, they're looking for turkey tracks and scratches and things like that. The same with deer. So they're not Bigfoot's not even uh, on their mind at all.
Exactly.
Whereas any of us went out there to turkey hunt, we would also be looking for Bigfoot sign. That's just it's just once it gets in your blood, it's just there.
I myself don't hunt, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's me.
and
I stopped hunting
yeah,
years ago.
I stopped too, but I made the mistake of looking a moose in the eye, and this is in this roughly the same area in one of my research areas, and I made the mistake of looking him in the eye, and I ended up firing over his head, and I said, I can't anymore. That's it.
That's me. I got to where I didn't want to kill anything. Now fish are a different story. I
Uh,
Yep.
want to catch some of them fish, boy.
yeah, I'd love to slay me some fish.
Yeah, I got the table for it now. I got me one of those cleaning tables, sets up big and high. It's got a hook a water hose to it, and it's got a faucet and a sink and all that. So now I just got to catch some fish.
Nice.
But yeah, it's I got to where I didn't want to kill any. I never did deer hunt, but I did squirrel hunting. I've done some rabbit hunting and coon hunting, but I just got to where I didn't want to kill anything.
Me either.
I'm glad I know. I'm glad I got that skill of how to skin them out and all that stuff. But if in case I ever need them, I need that skill. But I just got to where I didn't want to kill anything.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll eat any of them because
Me
most of
too.
them are good.
Yeah,
I don't want to be the one to pull the trigger.
yeah. I'm just like that. I can eat about anything
Yeah,
as long as it don't have coconut on it. I don't like coconut.
nope, me either.
I don't like coconut. That's
Coconut or cherry?
what is it?
Coconut and cherry.
I don't like fresh cherries at all. And it's good. I have gout, and cherries are good for gout, and I just can't stomach them.
Yeah, they're awful.
Especially those ones that are bitter. That's the one that's supposed to be good for gout. I can't remember what they're called. But now, yeah, that's the one. Now the sweet ones I can eat a little bit, but man, those are no way. Uh,
I can't even stand the smell of them. They make me gag.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. It's really stupid kind of. For years, I wouldn't eat macaroni and cheese. I thought my thing was, that's a woman's food. That's what women eat. And and I never would eat macaroni and cheese. I just thought it was something that women liked. I wouldn't eat it. But I finally got to come around and started eating macaroni and cheese. I kind of like it now. I matured.
You weren't poor enough.
Well, yeah, I was pretty poor, man. Kool-Aid and crackers. I've been down to that before. That's all we had. So, and when I say Kool-Aid, I mean with no sugar Kool-Aid, colored water. We've been down that poor before. But yeah, I just don't know. In my mind, it was just something that women ate, this macaroni and cheese. I don't know. That's so funny. But I like it now. But I like it with ketchup on it, which is kind of weird.
A lot of people do, though.
Yeah, I call it bloody
Yeah, I've heard
macaroni and
that.
cheese.
I'm not one of those people, but a lot of people do.
Can you imagine that? Not eating
My
macaroni and
ex-wife
cheese.
used to make a couple boxes of macaroni and cheese and cook up one of those Encore Salisbury steak dinners, cut up the Salisbury steaks, dump the entire contents in with macaroni and cheese and stir the crap out of it. I looked at it and I mean, it looked like something if the dog ate something that didn't agree with him. But I tried it and it wasn't half bad.
It's just funny how we change and mature. Just like we're talking about not killing animals. Well, I used to when I was younger. I didn't think nothing about that. I didn't think nothing about shooting a squirrel or shooting a coon or whatever. But no, you change, I guess, as you get older. You get a better perspective on the meaning of life and stuff like that, I guess.
And I suppose if I came across an invasive species that is free for anyone to shoot or kill, I might. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
generally, I just don't have any. I don't really have any desire to kill an animal.
That's me. I don't really neither. Getting back to Bigfoot a little bit, I asked both of you guys this question. Other than a visual sighting, what do you think's the best evidence for Bigfoot?
Leo,
What do I think would be, or what do I think is right
What do
now?
you think is the best evidence for Bigfoot, other than a visual, a video or something like that?
Wow. That's going to depend a lot on who you ask, but I can think of one thing: the London Trackway. You have all those tracks in that line. It's unhoaxable. You can't. There would be in that sand, that type of sand. There would be if someone was walking along with like a stomper, like some kind of foot thing on a stick or whatever. It's yeah, it's unhoaxable. So something as simple as a trackway can be, but I mean, there's vocals that just don't add up to anything else. So there's lots of things that a person could say would be what they figure would be the best evidence, but I think that's going to change depending on what that person thinks about this situation or that situation or whatever. But trackways that absolutely cannot be hoaxed without leaving prints or tire tracks, the space between the tracks. I mean, 5 foot span in between the tracks. You can't do that. You can't. Unless you're 8-9 feet tall yourself, you can't do that in sand and get away with it. There's no way to do it.
It'd be very hard to be consistent
Yeah.
with the spacing and things like that on that track what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jason?
I certainly do not disagree with Leo. Some, like you had said, Thomas, some of the vocals that have been documented are pretty phenomenal. I mean, it's stuff that you really can't fake. I'm no linguist. What's the word for that?
That's close. That's closer than I could get.
I don't
We'll go with the
specialize in
second one.
language. I don't specialize in different languages, but I don't see how it's something that a person could fake. I mean, that really fast, garbled
Yeah.
noise that we've all heard so many times. It's just, I've been listening to different clips of them now for 10 years. And they've spanned a 40-year difference. But it seems like they're all pretty much alike.
I guess for me, other than having a visual or a video of a Bigfoot, for me, what really made Bigfoot real to me was finding tracks in places where I know it wasn't a human, and finding that the tracks were in line that were not consistent with a human walking anyways. To me, that's what really was hit home and solidified it for me as being it is real. So I'd have to say tracks and trackways are probably would be my most best evidence, I guess, for Bigfoot. If that's all we had to go by was not a visual. But now you think about stick formations and rock stacks and there's all kinds of weird stuff that's out there that Bigfoot does that is potentially evidence of Bigfoot, and a lot of times people dismiss that, of course. But when you find a big stick formation or something, there's not nobody out there just making those random. and other animals don't do it.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
always the wind. That's the default skeptic answer. It's the wind. It's the wind. Right.
Yeah, well, one guy said it was people smoking marijuana going on top of mountains and building these things.
Well, if it's people smoking marijuana, I'll tell you, they better already be on top of the mountain because they're not going to climb a mountain after smoking
Yeah.
weed.
Well,
So,
that's funny, and this guy here is pretty prominent too. But sometimes people are dismissive of stuff like even tracks. They always want to say they're hoaxed or it's just a person, or a lot of times they say it's a bear. And stick formations or stick breaks, they don't want to accept them at all. And a lot of times I tell them, well, all I can do is tell you, show you, and tell you what I think about it. I can't make you accept it, you know.
well, if you take a look at that teepee structure that Becca and I found last year, I walked around that to make sure that, like, to see if it could have been a tree that blew over. But when there are no holes and no stumps anywhere in that area, then I have no other choice but to believe that they took it from another area, brought it in, made the structure out of it. And I know for sure because I've documented it over the last 5 or 6 years that after they're done with certain parts of a structure, like putting brush around like a teepee structure, the brush is never found there. It's taken, it's slowly taken and removed from the area until that all you have left is the bones of the structure. So uh, when people say the wind or anything else, it's two things: it's either Bigfoot or it's people. Because that's the only two options.
And in certain areas now, I do understand that the Boy Scouts and things, survivalists and things like that, they do go out and make these makeshift huts, shelters. But when I talk about my area, I don't think people realize how vast our area is, and we don't have. I don't even know if we have Boy Scouts around here, Boy Scout group or anything. I don't even know. Uh, you would think that I would know that, but I don't. I don't think we do. If I do, I've never seen them.
I don't hear much about them around here anymore.
No. And I know we don't have very many, if any, survivalists out here that go out and practice hut building back on top of Gobbler's Knob, you know, just to see if they can do it.
Well, that's the thing. If you know your area and you know that nobody else is going in there, and if somebody does happen to pass through there, nobody's gonna. Who's gonna do that? Like you said, if it's not Boy Scouts, it's not survivalists and stuff like that. If you already know that they're not going there, who else is going to sit there and do all that?
Yeah, especially way back off the beaten path. I mean, if I want to practice fire building or something, I'll probably do that right here in my backyard or something. Or if I want a lean shelter or something, I got real low lying areas I could go practice that on. I'm not going way back on the middle of nowhere to do that.
No.
So, like you say, what else can it be? We know bears and squirrels and things like that don't build these kind of formations or whatever. So it only leaves really one major option that we, does that kind of thing. All right,
So
Leo.
I got a question for you guys.
Okay.
I'm just curious on your thoughts. And I'm certainly no conspiracy theorist.
I am.
But what are your thoughts about the government actually knowing that Bigfoot exists, or even the fact they may actually have one alive or the body of one?
Leo, do you want me to do that, or you want to do that?
You go ahead and start.
Well, some would say that some of the people in government are Bigfoot, but I don't think they're that smart. I think for sure there's no way. Yeah, there's no way that the government does not know about Bigfoot. And it's funny that you bring that up. Me and Leo have got a show planned coming up very soon, maybe even our next show. We're in 100% sure yet that is going to cover that very topic, Bigfoot and the government and the MIBs. So I will not go into great detail because I don't want to give away what we're going to do on the show. But I will say there's just no way that the government does not know about Bigfoot. Now, that don't mean everybody in government.
Right.
You know,
the ones that deserve to know, no.
Yeah, they know. Certain people know. Maybe they hide it from certain people. I don't know, but I do think the government knows about Bigfoot.
In my
Those
opinion,
within the government that need to know, like Jay said, those that need to know. I know it for a fact, but my facts are just an opinion.
Sorry, Leo, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. My facts, what I know to be a fact, and I can't prove, then I have to present it to other people as an opinion. So, but me sitting here talking to two of my buddies, yeah, the government knows, and I know it for a fact. So,
right.
I think that if it was ever released that they actually exist, it would cause chaos because they'd be considered an endangered species, so that would affect hunting, logging, so many things it would impact. That's why I think they probably don't want to do it.
That could be part of the reason. There could be other reasons as well, which we will talk about on our next show.
Tune in, everybody.
We're going to get in. We're going to get in on some details on that on our upcoming show. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I think the government knows, and like you say, and they recently admitted to UFOs.
Yep.
And nobody batted an eye. The Navy released footage of UFOs and confirmed UFOs, and they're not ours, and nobody cared.
Yeah, I watched something on that, the actual classified release footage, and some of it was pretty phenomenal.
Well, I remember, Jason, back several years ago, you had actually interviewed a lady. I think her last name was Campbell, that had some UFO activity. Do you remember that? What was her first name? Zeta or?
Yeah, it was a unique first name.
Yeah, it was an odd first name. Do you remember much about that case? That's been several years ago.
Yeah. I'm getting old. My memory's not that good anymore.
We've actually got the interview on our YouTube channel. But
I don't recall. I mean, I'm not going to say my personal opinion on the matter, but I just don't think it happened.
You don't think so?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that is my personal opinion, but I won't go into detail as to why.
Okay. Well, I know over the last, several years, it seems like there's been an uptick in UFO reports. I don't know specifically why. Maybe COVID and everybody locked down or something had something to do with it. I don't know. But it seems like there's been a lot more UFO reports lately.
I was in the place that I live now. We all have back decks. And there was one time I was sitting out there on my back deck with a buddy of mine. The light was off. We were just outside having a beer or two and smoking a cigarette. And he stands right up and he goes, "Oh my God, it's a UFO." And I looked up and he gave it a good 10-second look. It was a satellite. And it's not too hard to pick out the difference from a satellite to a shooting star to an unidentified flying object. And some of it could be that stuff too.
I think some of the things now with technology, of course, I think some of the things now are probably some of our own stuff, some government stuff. But now you take the reports that come from let's say the 40s, 50s, or 60s, or even maybe in the 70s and 80s, uh, some of the things that were reported and even photographed, I don't think it was stuff that was ours. That was, maybe from somewhere else. I don't know, maybe not from Mars or wherever, but it was. I don't think it was necessarily something that our government or military had made.
Yeah, there's that famous story from New Hampshire of the couple that allegedly got uh, taken.
Betty and Barney Hill, is that who you talking
Yep.
about?
Yes, yes. I
Yeah,
couldn't remember their names.
yeah. I followed that case a little bit over the years. Read on it. It's kind
And
of
they don't.
interesting.
It's kind of like the petty footage. They can't seem to debunk it. There's no
Well,
proof that
a
it
lot
doesn't
of
have
times
it.
people refer to that as the first abduction case, but it wasn't the first abduction case.
No.
It was the first one in the United States, as far as I know, that was reported. But there have been other abduction cases in other parts of the world, that had already been publicized.
That would be one of my two favorite ones that I feel are legit. I mean, I'll listen to things that people say and I won't dismiss it, but generally I have to experience something before I can say, well, I know it, because I don't like to believe something to the point where I just don't like I don't do a lot of blind belief. It doesn't mean I throw out what the person says, but with Betty and Barney Hill, I cannot see why, especially an interracial couple at that time,
At that
bringing
time
that kind
frame.
of attention
In
to
this area.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, no way.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no,
That's odd.
I think that's 100% legit.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
definitely happened to them, like you say, being an interracial couple at that time frame. I would say they weren't treated well in certain places, in certain shops or whatever. So I wouldn't see them bringing unwanted uh, media attention.
No, just don't see that at all.
yeah. I would say that the authorities didn't really take it for what it actually was. Probably mostly due to the fact that they were interracial.
Could be.
And I mean, that was back when that would be completely taboo.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ridiculous, but
Do either one of you guys? You can take turns answering this. Do you think that there's? I know you guys probably know my feeling about it. Do you think that Bigfoot and UFOs are connected in some way?
Leo,
Uh, if they are, and I have no experience directly. I've seen a UFO, and when I say UFO, that just means I couldn't identify it. So, um, just a few miles from where had my first and last visual. So, of the Bigfoot. So I've been asked that a lot, and I think that if there is a connection, I don't think it's much more than they've been around for thousands and thousands. They've been around a lot longer than we have, so they may know of them and know, more than what we do. They're more comfortable with them than what we are. They may know. They may have some. They may have had some peaceful interactions or not so peaceful interactions or whatever. But there definitely does seem to be some kind of connection as to UFO sightings in the same area as Bigfoot sightings. But do I think there's a direct connection between UFOs and Bigfoot? No.
What do
But
you
then
think?
that depends on on could there be aliens out there that are 8 feet tall and hair covered? Sure. So in that case, maybe. But with what I know and what I've interacted with, no, I don't see it.
Yeah, we all know about Wookiees.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have to say that, and again, purely speculation, my own opinion, I don't think there is any connection whatsoever, except maybe that if there are extraterrestrials coming down here, I think the connection is their curiosity is just as intense as ours is.
Well, that's kind of my take on that aspect of it. If a UFO landed in a field, uh, we as humans, and if we could see it, we would probably go check it out. Bigfoot would probably be the same way. If, hey, what's these strange lights? What's this in the field? They'd probably go to the edge of the wood line and check it out too. But I'm like you, I don't think there's a direct connection. I've not been able to see it. And one thing I like to tell people is that maybe there's a resource in the area that they both use or they're both attracted to, ley lines or something like that, or even, I don't know, maybe there's certain types of rocks or something that they are both attracted to in that area. It's hard to say.
Yeah, underground springs.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of theories about they're just here for the water.
Well, that's very possible, I guess. You think about the quartz and stuff that's in the ground. We have a lot of that right here. That's kind of gives off energy and things like that. So I don't know. Could be the area. You never know. I don't think I've not seen a direct connection between Bigfoot and UFOs.
Yeah.
No, but I mean there is the native reports that Nancy did an article on. It was moon bears or something like that. They were seen coming from a UFO, but they were acting very robotic. So if that's your way of thinking, then like I said, who says that there can't be an alien that would resemble what we know as Bigfoot?
Yeah.
So maybe but to me, I figure we see aliens every day walking down the street and we don't know it. But as far as the gray ones and all that, I don't know. That's things I would have to see to believe.
Well, I've never seen an alien. I've seen several UFOs over the years, but I've never seen an alien that I know of. But I might not know it.
But that's the thing. I figure if they're here, then they're walking around us and we don't know.
Well, I think back in the 80s, I had a very intelligent friend. He hacked a Navy ship, which may not be a very intelligent thing to do. And he downloaded tons and tons of files off of the Navy ship. And I have some of them. He actually printed them off. I have some of them in a folder somewhere. But at the time, I think there was 13 known races, according to what I read at that time frame. I think it's a lot more now. 13 known races of aliens that they were aware of, and this was like in the 80s or something, late 80s, maybe early 90s. That I got that information, but I know now it's way up there. It's a lot more than that, according to what I've read. But I don't know. It's hard to say. It's something we don't know unless we experience firsthand.
I still hold the thought that you would, and I don't say this to offend anybody, but it takes an incredibly arrogant person to go outside at night and look up and see them thousands of little lights and say there's no way that on one planet that's circling around one of them little tiny lights, there's not an intelligent race of beings.
Yeah. It's just we're just a little speck is all we are, so.
And now, yeah, we're a speck to them and they're a speck to us.
Yeah. I've seen some weird stuff over the years. I don't know. I ain't seen a UFO in a while. Well, I take that back. I got one story I need to tell in a few days. I don't know what it was. That's been about probably a month and a half ago. I'll have to write that up in a few days. It's just little short story, but it was something weird.
Oh.
So I may share. I'll hold that and share it. But I've seen some weird stuff over the years. So I don't know how it's. I don't know if it's connected to Bigfoot, like you say, or not. But some weird stuff to see out there.
The first one that I saw was oh, sorry, Jay, go ahead.
All I was going to say was there are probably so many things that nobody knows about out there that's just mind blowing.
What were you going to say, Leo?
Oh, yeah, the first thing that I saw that I would say that I would have to consider a UFO, it looked like it looked like a hard liquor bottle, or like a squared off, not a wine bottle, but like a squared off like a hard liquor bottle, and if you were to just turn it on its side, and there was either some kind of design or possibly a window in the upper left, and it stopped still by the side of my grandmother's house, and me and my friend John sat there and watched it, and then it was there, and then started to take off, and then it was completely gone. So there was nothing on this earth at that time that would resemble that at all. I mean, that thing didn't even look like it should fly.
Yeah, I've seen some weird stuff. Most I've seen is probably, most of them have been round. The one I seen was actually, we lived right here, but it was a mobile home. We lived in a small mobile home. There was one right above the house, and it was perfect circle, and it looked like a fluorescent light. The whole bottom was the same color, and it wasn't very high at all. I mean, even in my book, I wrote about that. If I'd had just a decent rifle, I could have shot it. It was that low, no sound whatsoever. About probably 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and it went all the way to this big mountain, and then made what would be a left turn square, and went across the top of the mountain. It disappeared. I have no idea what it was, but it had no other lights other than the whole bottom of it looked like a fluorescent light. It's perfectly round and no sound whatsoever. I mean, that to me, that's a UFO. I didn't know what it was.
Well, if you couldn't identify it, that's exactly what it was.
No sound. I mean, and in that time frame, there was no drones like we have now, and even a drone at that low would make noise.
I mean, it couldn't be any conventional aircraft.
No.
Because
to me, it wasn't that big.
There's no aircraft still that doesn't make an incredible racket.
To me, this thing here was, I mean, it was good size, but it wasn't, people talk about seeing stuff that's big as a football field or whatever. This year wasn't that big. I mean, it was large enough you could probably park a good size, full size truck or something on it or something like that, but didn't seem that big to me.
Yeah.
And it was pretty low.
It was the same in our case too. It wasn't a massive size or anything like that. It just didn't look like it should even be capable of flying, but no noise. There was no noise from it at all. And
it's funny, of course, we mostly talked about Bigfoot tonight, but it seemed like the conversation, if you talk about Bigfoot long enough, UFOs always bleed over into the conversation somewhere. I don't know if it's because it's just another mystery, or just a lot of people, there's a coincidence there that they do overlap a lot.
I think right now there's a lot of people that are taking their opinion, and I don't know, I'm not there, I'm not saying they're lying, I'm just saying sometimes people take their opinion and spin it into a good yarn because they don't want their opinion to be wrong. So you have people that are convinced they're all aliens. You have people convinced they're working some evil scam with aliens.
Yeah.
And the Bigfoot are plotting this big thing with aliens against us. And Wow. They're sure taking their time if that's what they're doing.
Well, that's what I talk about too. I know I've said it before. Uh, you know, sometimes people claim that Bigfoot has a message for humanity,
Oh,
but they pick somebody that lives way back up in a holler by themselves or in the middle of nowhere, and they only see about 3 people a month, and they're going to have them spread the message. Just don't make sense to me.
you know what I noticed about those? They're never the same.
The
They
message is
basic they
always different.
basically touch on a couple things that we're not treating the earth right. Well, no kidding. That we're not treating the earth right. We don't treat each other right. Again, no kidding.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, every one of these messages to humanity that are out there that are supposed to be spread, all say completely different
Yeah.
things. So, yeah, that's
Let me share something right now. We don't have a whole lot of time left, about 15 minutes or so. Uh, and we need to talk about this. We've not talked about it yet. We need to talk about Jason's book, The Road to Leadville. Tell us a little bit about your book, Jason. How long did it take you to write it? What made you write it? And things like that.
It's been about 7, 8 years ago. I wrote the first couple chapters. I don't know. This idea popped into my head. And I was like, I'm just going to jot this down, see what happens. If I can keep going, I'll keep going. It took 2 days to write the first, I think it was 2 or 3 chapters. And then I put it away and didn't think about it again. And 6 years later, I thought about that, and I still had the same laptop. And I opened up the file and I read it. And then I just suddenly had the whole story was kind of in my head. It was pretty cool.
Oh, it's a very good story.
it's a heck of a story to have just in your head.
Can you give us, without giving too much away about the storyline, tell us just a little bit about it, about what takes place in the book? A synopsis, so to speak.
The main character is a man who lives out in the woods in a little cabin that he made, Alec Johnson. He winds up pretty much rescuing a horse, then finding a dog. Both of the animals are extremely smart, and the horse is probably the fastest one around. And he meets this lady, and this family of unpleasant men wind up kidnapping that lady's little boy. And the rest of it is them traveling to where they went. Believe it or not, it was Leadville. And rescuing him. And a bunch of stuff in between.
A bunch of shooting and killing and drinking and fighting and
Yeah, you can't have a boring Western without a whole bunch of scrapping.
It is. It's a very good book. My dad really enjoyed it as well, and I enjoyed it. Actually, it's available on as an audiobook now too. And Duke Johnson was the guy who did the narration, and he done a real good job on it.
Sorry, I hate to correct, but it's Duke Butler.
Duke Butler? Is it Butler?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. That's not his real name, but that's his narration name. So.
Well, that's the coolest name that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks for correcting me, though. But yeah, it's an excellent story. And for people who don't know, I always tell them this. I'll say, if you really read carefully, there's a Bigfoot thing in it. If you'll read carefully, which is kind of tucked away in there that you'll find interesting. Or I found it interesting. I matched it up with, I hit right on it because I'm a Bigfoot guy, I guess.
Yeah, I had to sneak him in there somewhere.
A ton of friends that are absolutely nuts about Tombstone and certain westerns. If you take Tombstone, Lonesome Dove, and threw in a few other things to make a unique mixture, it's that book. It's an awesome book.
When I got into the second chapter of it, if I remember correctly, that is where the dog comes in. And I was like, what's going on here? I was reading. I said, what's going on? What's going on? And then if you keep reading it, it lines out and you understand what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's a good book. I recommend it.
I appreciate that, guys. It's basically just your basic Western. There's lots of rowdiness. There's the love between a man and his dog, and love between that man and another lady. The good people and the bad people.
Yep.
It was a pleasure to write, and the second one is coming soon. Strangely enough, told from the perspective of the dog.
That's interesting. We'll just try not to wait 6 years to get it finished.
If I can get any free time. And if the writer's block lets up.
Yeah, I know, man. It's my thing is time, and then when I get a little extra time, I'm so wore out from working all the time. I want to just do something else, like watch TV or play a video game or just sit there.
Yeah. My biggest thing right now is I get to a certain spot in it, and I'm like, I don't know where to go with it at this point. I mean, it took almost 7 years to write the first one, so I shouldn't think that I'll be able to write the second one in a month. I'm not John Grisham.
Yeah, or Stephen King, he just puts out three a week or something.
Yeah.
Which we know Stephen King is an excellent writer, but most people, like my son and stuff, he don't like how Stephen King ends his books. He says he don't know how to end the book, how to write the ending. A lot of people feel that way about Stephen King.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't get time to read a whole lot, but now I like the Stephen King film. It was based on a Stephen King book called Thinner.
Yep.
Where they put the curse on him. The guy, I thought that was kind of interesting, and it's something you can watch. It's not like The Stand or something. You got to watch over 2 weeks or something. You can watch it in this one setting, which is pretty good.
The idea, like the whole concept in Thinner, I think Thinner is very underrated. But I think if it had different actors in it, if it had been a bigger deal and a bigger, I don't know, budget or whatever at the time, if it had gotten a bigger push at the time, that the whole idea of Thinner, I think it could have been a blockbuster had it been done a little different.
Yeah. Well, we know that the movie industry has changed. I don't know if it'll ever be back to what it was due to COVID. We lost both of our theaters, our local theaters, for a while, but somebody actually opened another one back up. It's a different company in Middlesboro, but we lost the one in Harlan County, and we don't have a theater there. That's the one I went to. It was run down. AMC actually bought it from Carmichael, whatever it's called. But they didn't do a whole lot with it neither. They put in a nacho machine, and one of those big pop machines that does 42,000 flavors. You got to pick your flavor. The movie's over by the time I decide what I want to drink. That's the only thing they really did. The seats were still broken and stuff, so maybe it wasn't a big loss. But that's where I usually went to watch a film. Was if I went and watched one, which I don't go very often. It takes something spectacular like a new Planet of the Apes movie or something like that to get me to go watch. See what else we got, Jason. See, I got something else here we can show in case people haven't seen it. This is the film that features Jason's story from his Bigfoot sighting and several years of research and just how it affected him seeing and realizing that Bigfoot was real.
I believe that all the footage of this film was over 6 years of footage.
Spanning over 6 years of footage.
Yeah.
And it's available on Amazon, and it's available on Tubi TV for free. On Amazon, you have to pay to watch it, but on Tubi TV, you can watch it for free if you don't mind a few commercials along. It's only about 50 minutes long. It's the way the film came about. We kind of had to piece it together over time, but I think it turned out pretty good overall.
I thought, regardless that it was revolved around my sightings, I thought it was a very well made film, period, regardless who it was about. And I spoke to a few people that have seen it. I think at the time they bought it on Amazon, and they have said that they've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, for a while, that's the only place it was actually available was on Amazon. So
we just watched it last Saturday, and on a Saturday it takes, I don't know what it is about Fridays now that when we do the show, I don't know, my brain has a hard time winding down from it, but I can go to bed, but I'm not going to sleep for hours. I'm going to sleep for about 3 hours, and then I'll be up tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock. So, but I watched this again last Saturday, and yeah, it's very well done, and I really enjoyed it because I started talking to Jay quite some time ago, but this was my first time being able to actually see him and talk about it and everything. So, but yeah, it was that I really enjoyed that, and I'm not being biased, but regardless, it's like Jay said, regardless of who it was about, it was done really good.
Well, the content, of course, is interesting because some people don't maybe realize that seeing a Bigfoot can really alter your perception of the world, and a lot of people have lingering effects. Well, like you was speaking about, Leo, it bothered you for the first several months afterwards after your initial sighting. It can have lingering effects on a person's psyche, seeing something that's not supposed to be real.
Yeah, it probably all just depends on the person's personality as to how it affects them.
Yeah.
I mean, my personality, when I saw it, I had to know more. And I started the next day. Like I said, after I processed all of what I saw. So it is strange how it affects different people differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it has to do with your experience and what, like you say, you already had an interest in it. I don't think Leo had any kind of interest in it at all.
None.
And so that probably played a big difference, in the two.
I think at that time, the most that I may have seen would have been a bit of the Patterson film, like on Canadian TV. That I'm sure I would have seen it somewhere and looked at it and thought, yeah, maybe or whatever. But it didn't matter to me. It's not something I ever sat down and concentrated on. It was just maybe not. I don't know. Who cares? Kind of deal. and then I cared a whole lot all at once.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Once you come to the realization, or you have a visual, it's something you think about every day, or I do, anyways.
Yep.
I mean, we all three of us, and I'm sure that plenty of people listening know the concept of pareidolia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people say, "Well, you've been a Bigfoot buff for a while, and you've just been like hoping and praying that you see one." and then you see this thing, and immediately you go Bigfoot. Well, for me, there's no other option of what it could have been.
Especially 10 foot tall. I mean, I don't know of any known animal that walks around on 2 feet, 2 legs that's 10 foot tall. Around here, I don't know. Maybe you got something special going on up in New Hampshire, buddy.
Well, with us, it's. I think that's all you guys have too is black bear. I think.
Yeah, that's all we have. Black bear. Biggest animal we have around here is a elk. I guess would be the biggest thing we have as far as size wise.
And from both the areas that I've spent most of my time, the biggest thing would be a moose. And yes, I have been fooled by the hind quarter of a moose.
Quarter of a moose, yeah.
I turned really quick, and I saw just large and black, and I thought, right on, I'm going to have a sighting, and I sure did. Of a moose, but yeah, I've had a lot of people say, "Are you sure it wasn't what you initially thought it was?" So I was the same as Jay. I automatically thought it was a black bear, but because your brain will do that. Your brain tries to get you to the most familiar thing.
Right.
So when I saw the shine from the hair and everything, I thought black bear. He stood up, turned around, and looked at me. Black bear went out the door real quick.
Yeah.
But there are still people that say, well, yeah, but maybe it was. No. I know what a damn black bear looks like. That wasn't it.
That's like that game cam picture I have of it's a Bigfoot. Ain't no way around it. People try to tell me it was a black bear. Well, if it is, it's almost a 7 foot tall black bear, and they just don't get that big, But
I was going to mention that. It's like so many people say, "Oh, it's a black bear," and I was like, "When's the last time you've seen a black bear over 6.5 foot tall?"
Well, see, the average on a black bear is that they're rarely over 5 foot tall. You get one over 5 foot tall standing on its back. That's the average. I mean, you get a few that's a little bit bigger than that, but to have one 7, 8, 10 foot tall, it just don't happen. But
be a grizzly.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'd have to be a grizzly. We don't have those, but people who don't want to believe, who want to dismiss everything, they'll come up with it was a bear on stilts. They'll come up with something.
They broke away from the circus and brought their stilts with them.
Yeah, that's it.
We don't have grizzlies around here either. So, like I said, when I saw what I saw, I just narrowed it down. There's no way it could have been anything else.
And it did change your life.
It did. It was it was amazing.
Sometimes when you see things like that, the only way you can describe it as amazing and life-changing, and it happens. It happens to a lot of us. Well, I guess our time is just about up. Jason, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and of course, thank Leo for helping, and Rebecca for taking care of the chat. Tell all the people listening, and those that didn't listen live can also watch the replay. It's going to be on YouTube. Tell them where they can contact you or find you.
Well, always on Facebook. You can always message me through there. That for the folks watching here might be the easiest way. I can give you my email. So anybody else that's not on Facebook that wants to contact me for one reason or another, it's basically my name, Jason Morse, JASONMORSE 90 @gmail.
Gmail. For years, Jason was real active for our team, and then he kind of slacked off on us there for a few years. But we're looking forward to getting him back out there a little more now, maybe.
Yeah, I think this is a good warm up for me. I'm kind of hankering to get out there now.
get you a little more, active. For a while, you was real active for us, but I know sometimes life gets in the way. It does for me. So sometimes we get slowed down, but we can get back going.
Yeah, I guess the whole COVID thing kind of
Oh man,
mentally and emotionally kind of wore me down.
it did
Very,
me at times. We lost 8 family members to COVID, and I lost probably altogether about 40 people that I personally knew to COVID. So people say, well, it's just the flu. It's just the flu. It wasn't. It's not just the flu.
yeah,
It's similar to the flu, but uh,
I
we're almost
lost 4 people I knew personally, and
we're
consider
almost we're almost 2 years. For almost 2 years now, my wife has had lingering effects from COVID. She has to see a neurologist, constant headache every day for like almost 18 months now. Can't get rid of them, and it's COVID related. So I know it's more than just a common cold or just a flu bug.
well, you say I've had it, and
Me
it's
too.
pretty pretty nasty.
It wasn't too bad on me. The worst part for me was the fatigue factor. Months later, I still didn't have my strength back, and then even longer than that, I would take spells where I just couldn't get any air. I mean, I'd be out hiking. I felt even after I got back good physically, I'd be out hiking, and all at once I just couldn't get any air, which was really weird. And that's after I've been in shape for a while. It's just I don't know. It's just a weird virus or disease, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand that COVID has weighed on everybody. I think. I'm kind of, I don't know. Some of you guys know me. Jason, I know does. I'm kind of a hugger. If I meet people, first time, last time, I hug people. That's just what I do. That's the way I am. And then
You'll crush your rib cage.
But with COVID, you can't do that. They don't even want to shake your hand or wave at you from across the room or something. That's about And so for people like me, it's been hard. I've even got to the point at one time I didn't even want to hug my mom and dad because I was afraid I might have the virus on me and give it to them, and they're older and sicklier, and what? How would that weigh on a man's mind? And if you pass that on to your parents, that's rough, dude.
And I see my dad now and then, but I haven't seen my mother in about a year, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but you do what you do.
Hopefully, it's kind of we're on the tail end of it now. I hope, and it's kind of going to fade out. But I know some families that wiped out. People we went to church with that wiped out basically their whole family. I think one daughter's left. And that's it. So it's bad news, and I feel sorry for anybody who's had it or been touched by it. I know. Well, that's what got Nancy. From my understanding, that's what got Nancy. So.
Well, it was the. I don't want to disagree with family or anything like that because things are a little touchy there anyway, but they're better than what they used to be. But she had an undiagnosed heart condition.
Oh, yeah.
And she got it on top of that with pneumonia. So certain people don't want to come right out and say that it was COVID, but it certainly didn't help the situation, and it was.
Well, see, that's what COVID does. COVID brings out any weakness that you have. That's just kind of what it does. So, but regardless, that's anybody who's got any underlying health conditions, COVID will make it worse and could potentially kill you, and that's not good. I wonder if Bigfoot can get COVID or any known disease like that. It's kind of an interesting thought. They're very human-like.
I don't see why not.
Do what, Jason?
I never really thought about that, but it's an interesting thought. Good
I
question.
wonder. Yeah, I wonder. It's we can spread stuff around, and Bigfoot's very human to me. I think Bigfoot's very human. And possible we could spread it to Bigfoot. That'd be bad, wouldn't it? Which maybe they got a better immunity than we do.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure that, I mean, they're, with Jay and I were talking about this the other day, about their lifespan and that. And I think their lifespan, from what I've seen, their lifespan is as long and sometimes longer than ours because they live so healthy. So,
Well,
but
they
I'm
eat
sure
better
that a
than
lot.
we do.
Yeah, I mean they're always exercising. They're always eating the right thing. They can't go wrong.
Yeah. And everything
So,
we eat is processed. I mean, everything we eat is processed and got chemicals and all that stuff on it.
but I can't
Hey,
see why
Goliath's not going to
they
run
wouldn't get
through
viruses.
Goliath's not going to run through a McDonald's drive-through.
That's true. Well, you think about that too. He's talking about them raiding dumpsters and things. I wonder if they do get. I'm sure they do get McDonald's or whatever, but they probably exercise it off, don't they?
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. And like Leo said, I mean, they're on the move all the time, and they're not just cruising around in cars or whatever. They got to hoof it everywhere.
There's probably no couch potato Bigfoots.
No, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Well, guys, we're over time just a little bit. Jason, again, thank you for coming on the show, and enjoyed talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. I appreciated it.
It
And
was awesome to see you, Jay.
you too, Leo. Good to talk to you and see you again, Tom.
All right, man, get out in the field now. Do something.
Yes, sir.
All right, Leo. I think we had a pretty good show overall.
I think so.
Jason has had some good experiences, and I think in the film you get to see that quite a bit of the process he went through from when he first had his sighting all the way up to where he gone through he has to move and everything. But I guess we'll wrap it up. Are we going to try to do our special show next week? Maybe we're going to talk about it.
Well, I figure, why don't we go ahead and do that next week? Because I didn't book anybody for.
Okay.
There's a couple people that I want to get booked, but I kind of left that week where we've had a guest every week the last few.
Weeks,
so
yeah.
I figured that we could do that one next weekend.
Okay, so next show is government, Bigfoot, and MIB, right?
Yep.
And that's what we're going to be talking about. We will not, as far as I know, we won't have a special guest. It'll just be me and Leo, and we got some stories to share and to tell you about the government, about Bigfoot and government connection, and the Men in Black, or MIB as we like to call them. So that will be next week's show. I guess that's a little primer for that. And right now, I guess we better sign off and go to bed, which I won't go to bed right now.
No, I'm not going to even bother trying. I'm staying up for an hour and try to let my brain unwind a little bit.
Yeah. All right. I know what you mean. I'll have a few things I have to do once I get off out of the studio. I have a few little things I'll have to do. But again, I appreciate you, Leo, and I appreciate Rebecca helping us in the chat. And just say goodbye, Leo.
Goodbye, Leo.
Talk to you later, brother.
All right.
All right, folks. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will see you on the next amazing episode.